Good evening, everyone. We're glad that you're here today. I want you to reach over behind you and tap the person on the back and let them know that you're glad that they're here. How's that sound? Just kind of reach over and just let them know you're doing okay. We're really glad that you're here today. What a great crowd. You folks represent the best of Payson right here. And we're glad that you're here, seriously. You folks are here because you really care about the town and the future of the town, and I know that's why you're here. And you're going to hear from both candidates, and by the way, they're both wonderful men, don't you think? I think they're great guys, both of them. So let me just share with you that this forum was not sponsored by any political organization whatsoever, okay? It was not sponsored by any political action committee, by any organization or any political group. This forum was sponsored by our two candidates. They agreed to be here and they agreed to be heard. So we want to give our two candidates a hand for letting this thing happen. I would ask that you would silence your cell phones if you would, please, and make sure that they're silenced so that there's not that distraction. And, you know, you can put it in your back pocket for a cheap thrill if it should happen to ring or something, but put it on vibrate, okay, so that we don't have the phones ringing off, going off the ringing. So I'm Pastor Rich Ritchie, pastor of the Church of the Nazarene here, and we want to welcome you here for this candidate forum. And we're praying for a really, really great time. One of the things that I think that binds us all together is our flag. And so I think we should stand and give the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Don't you? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Amen. Let's pray together, shall we? Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this time that we can be together as a community. We thank you, Father, for all the blessings that you bestow upon us every day. We thank you for your presence with us, for we are in a sanctuary that is filled with your presence, and we're thankful for that. We're thankful, Lord, for our two candidates that really care about our community and want to see the best. And we pray your blessings on them tonight. We pray that you would bring calm in their hearts and just answer from their heart and share with us what they really believe about the various issues. And Lord, my prayer is that you would bless each and every one here in this place with your love and your grace and a great, great future. We give you the praise, and it's in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior, I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you. We want to welcome our two candidates, Tom Morrissey and Chris Higgins, if they would come and take their seats here. Let's give them a great hand. Our current mayor, Tom Morrissey, and our current vice mayor, Chris Higgins. First of all, as I said, we want to say that, yeah, shake hands, that's good. I like to see that. I like seeing that, especially when you really mean it. So I like that. So first of all, I want to say that really these two are great men, and they care about you and they care about this town, and that's why they are running for the future of our great city. So we want to thank you both for your service to our country, because both of you served, and we want to thank you for your service to this town as well. Amen? Amen. We really do. You can go ahead and have a seat if you like. The questions have been submitted by the voters themselves through a very secure website. The questions have not been tainted in any way or anything like that. They've been submitted by the voters. The questions were limited to municipal matters only, nothing personal, and no personal slams or questions that, anything like that. So you will each be given an opportunity to answer every question with your own position on each matter that has been presented. And the thing is we want to hear your own ideas, right? And we want to get to know you. We don't really want to hear what you say the other person says and all of that. Just share what you believe about each of the questions that are asked. Resist the temptation to say, my opponent says, okay? Just resist that temptation right off the bat, all right? Don't go there. I will cut off the mic. I won't, but I have highly trained and skilled personnel in the back. Okay? No personal attacks of any kind. We just want to hear your view so that we, the voters, can decide which of you we believe will best represent us as future success of our town. This is my personal view, but I think you would agree there has been far too much negative campaigning going on, destructive ads, false and misleading accusations, character assassinations, and personal attacks. Wouldn't you agree with me? There's far too much of that, and you know, we're people, we're better than that. We're people of high moral and spiritual character, and of course we expect the same for our leaders. So let's keep this dignified, let's keep it respectful, let's keep it friendly, and even have a little bit of fun. All right? Okay, to start with, you will each be given 6 minutes for an opening statement and an opportunity to outline your positions. You'll each take turn at choosing a question from the basket right over here when I put the basket down. You'll have 3 minutes to ask the question and then answer the question, and then the other person will have 3 minutes to answer as well. I'm going to flip a coin to see who gets to be first at sharing your opening remarks, and then we'll alternate from there. And at the end of our time together, I'm going to toss a coin to see who gets to be the first to share your closing statement. And you'll each have 5 minutes for a closing speech. The timer will be on the back wall there for you, for your benefit. So, are we ready to begin? Yeah. All right. Great.
The mic we're going to be. Did you want to stand or? Yeah, you'll stand. Okay.
I like hearing laughter. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. I think it's important that we have this kind of reaction and attendance at events like elections. Also school boards, also town councils. It's critically important that you come and express your points of view. Chris and I and the rest of the council, we work for you. You're the boss. The town staff works for you. And we understand that. Speaking for myself, I do understand it. And I can't say it enough. So I appreciate the fact that you've honored me by electing me twice. And I'm asking for your vote again. But I'm Tom Morrissey, as the pastor said. I'm a full-time working mayor. 100% of my time I work for you. I want to tell you a little bit about me, though. I'm a veteran of the United States Army, 4th Armored Division. I was a rock and roller early in my life, and everybody remembers Yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy. I won't sing it because I want to get reelected, but I did that. My career was in law enforcement. I spent over 20 years as a deputy United States Marshal. and I have my credential and my badge to prove it. Some folks thought I was not a deputy United States Marshal. As a matter of fact, I was the chief deputy for the Federal District of Arizona. I got to spend a lot of time enforcing DEA warrants. I worked 8 years of my life all over the world, running down bad guys. I learned a lot of lessons from that experience. I learned the mindset of the cartels, the drug dealers, the intermediates, the users, and it's scary. Scary because I remember what they did and how they did it, and they're 10 times worse now. And they're bringing fentanyl into our country. It's killing a lot of our young people, and it's killing a lot of our young people. We are the main problem drugs are fentanyl, heroin, and methamphetamine, and they're right here in Payson. I know how to deal with this. I've had the experience. I know what to do, and I know how to do it. I founded a task force when I was the Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal called the HIDTA Task Force, High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. So it taught me and prepared me for what I think we're going to be facing. When I retired from the Marshal Service, the governor appointed me as the Inspector General of DES, Department of Economic Security. Started out with a staff of 12 people. A year later, I got promoted to the Chief of the Office of Special Investigations, then I had 132 people. I turned back 30% of my budget, and I increased production 20%. When I turned the budget back, I was told by my superiors I should have never done that because they'll never get that money back. And I reminded them that that money belongs to the people, not to them. And that's the way government should function. When taxes are raised, it's an indication of elected officials not managing the money, the people's money, properly. So taxes should never be raised without the consent of the people. And we may hear about taxes tonight, and we may talk about it, but thank you. But the fact is that there are so many different things that we face in elected positions. And sometimes misinformation gets out there. But I want to state that quite clearly to you, that I believe in going out for grants, going to the federal government for grants rather than raising taxes. And here's why. Because that money belongs to us anyway. That's already been taxed from us. And we have had a lot of success with getting money in here, especially with our thinning of the forest. I'm a conservative. I worked across the aisle with Senator Sinema. I put together a team. I believe in teams and having teams and putting the right people in the same room at the right time so that we can come out with a product that works for everybody. And we've been successful. We did it with the forest. Our existential threat is that forest. It's starting with the forest around our reservoir. So right now, they are thinning the forest. They are cutting fire breaks. And I'm going to show you something. This is from the first tree they cut down in May. And they presented it to me at an affair that I spoke at because I was part of the effort to get that done. So I'm running out of time. I'll have more to say later. And I appreciate you all being here, and keep smiling. Okay, we're going to have some fun. God bless.
It's hard for me to stand in one spot, so I'm going to take the mic so I can move a little bit. I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Also thank Pastor Richie and the staff that he has here for being here tonight, opening up their facility. But it is great to see everyone here, and as Tom said, it's important. It's important that we get out, that you get out to listen to your candidates, to what we have to say, and it's great to see everyone here this evening. As Pastor Richie said, I'm Chris Higgins, and I've lived in Payson now since 1999. Actually, the Rim Country moved into Payson from Pine in 2003. But since I've been up here, I've just loved the community and saw so many examples of how wonderful this community is. I served in the Air Force for 10 years. I served at Luke Air Force Base for 6, and then overseas at SHAPE, which is the Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers of Europe, for 4 years. Also during that time, I was in Desert Storm for 6 months, and then also over in Bosnia. My experience in the Air Force was wonderful. My job in the Air Force was cryptographic maintenance, which I know I tell people cryptographic maintenance and kind of wonder, what that is. But working with electronics, doing inspections in a lot of different countries, just got me exposure to a lot of different things. It was, again, a wonderful experience, and it was an honor to serve our country. After separating from the Air Force, I went to work for Motorola for a while, and then we moved up here, like I said, in 1999 to Rim Country. Shortly after moving to Payson, I opened up our shop. My wife, Maria, and we opened up our shop, Scoops, Ice Cream and Espresso. Had a wonderful time with that store, employed probably right at 100 young people here in the community, and it was a wonderful opportunity to get to know those young people, watch them grow, give them a job and great experience. Also, we got to know their families, and made just a lot of friends in Rim Country during that time. Our family, my wife Maria and I, we have 8 children, so it also helped out because we had a little bit of our own workforce as well with the shop, and kids working in ice cream shops. They thought it was going to just be a blast. They thought we could eat all the ice cream we want, and then they realized, well, you have to work. So a few of our kids really enjoyed it, and there were some that didn't. But it was a lot of fun. While we had the shop, that's when I started to get involved or look at local government and just the impact it had on businesses in the community, and I felt led to run for town council. So I ran for council, and I've been on the council now for 8 years, and it's a real honor, again, as Tom had mentioned, to serve the community. It's a position of service. Every single member on that board, and I feel that the school board is similar, and other boards in this town are very similar in that we serve the members of the community. And that was something that I've seen the entire time I've been in Payson. There's so many wonderful people. There's so many great people that are involved in so many organizations that do so much in this community. And it's very inspiring, and it's always been like that. I think that's what draws a lot of people to this community. When I talk to people and find out, because I've worked with people that have been here for 40, 50 years for the same amount of time that I've been here, or just for a year or two. But it is a common theme. What draws people here, and I think what keeps people here, is the community feel that we have, and just everyone working together when there's a need in the community. And that's something that I feel is important, and it's important for the town council. It's important for the town council to be able to work with organizations in the community, outside the community, work with our county, with our state, and work together to make Payson an even better place to live. That's one of the strengths I feel that I have, is working with people, forming partnerships, collaborating. I've done that while I've been here in Rim Country, and also I found my time in the service. That was one of the things that, a strength that I had. So Again, this community, Payson, is a wonderful town, and I would love to continue to serve as the mayor of Payson. Thank you.
Thank you both very, very much. Okay, Tom, you'll have the first choice of question. You'll read the question, and then the clock will start at 3 minutes after you read the question. And then Chris, you'll have a chance to respond to the same question with 3 minutes as well. So have fun. By the way, these questions, I think we had nearly 30 questions submitted, but we'll only have time for about 10. So that's the reason we're giving them a chance to rifle through and pull a question out at random. So, okay?
So I just pulled a random question from Stan Garner. What is your position regarding a pool? Indoor, outdoor, town-funded, work with MHA? Well, how long do I have? 3 minutes? Pastor, 3 minutes to answer? Okay, I'm looking. Okay, thank you. Well, the answer is all those options are there. It depends on how we can get to the best option. We have to build a pool. It's without exception. We're going to. If we build a pool on our own, we go back to what we have with the Taylor pool. What has to be incorporated in that is consideration of the ADA, the Americans Disabilities Act, which does raise the cost of the pool, excuse me. So if that's what the town elects to do, and it's going to be up to you all, as far as I'm concerned, how we're going to do it. If we have a pool that we can have that can be covered, temporarily covered for the winter, and then uncovered in the summer, then we can proceed with that. That's going to be more expensive. That's going to require bonding, going out for a bond and having it paid off, which is equivalent to a tax. The MHA has offered to help us with this project. One of the offerings was to build a community center with an aquatics in that center. Or if that doesn't happen, then they would help financially. That's my understanding. But the fact is that we will get started on a pool, one way or the other. And there's no simple answer to this here, but there is an answer. There was a proposition, there was a proposal during the last campaign right before the primary to go in and do it, refurbish the pool that we have. I never thought that was a good idea. And the reason it was proven, I think I was proven right, because Globe did that. Globe refurbished their pool. And it's my understanding that they had a budget when they started of $1.2 million. They finished it, it's over 5.2 million or somewhere in there. And it's a refurbished pool. So we should, for the same money, we can build a new pool. And we should look for partnerships. If the MHA wants to come in and help with that, come on. We need all the help we can get, but we need to do it together, and it needs to be with your approval. It's your money. Thank you.
Well, that was a great response. You didn't leave anything for me to say, Tom. Come on. No. No, that was a great response. It is a case where we've looked at, and there's only so many different ways that we can get this done. The advantages of a public-private partnership, which means a lower cost to the town, which would be great. But then you have a partner, and there are some restrictions, maybe limited use to a certain extent. So there are drawbacks in a private-public partnership. If the town were to fund it completely on its own, then we don't have any restrictions. We don't have a partner. We don't have to worry about maybe certain things that they want to have included in the design or in the pool. We have total control, but we also have to cover the total expense. So we have to pay for the pool. We have to pay 100% to operate the pool. So if there is an ability to have a partner, whether it's the MHA Foundation, whether the county, Banner, whoever that may be, an outside entity that hasn't approached us yet, we need to consider and look at all those options and really try and figure out what is best for the town. Also, to what extent is it a full-blown aquatic center? Is it a community center? We could do it in phases even, and have the first phase just being a pool, and then later have it be covered, enclosed. So there's a lot of different options there. I feel, though, that it is critical, it's necessary. We have to make a commitment either way, whether it's a public-private partnership, whether it's us doing it on our own. We're way past the point of just committing to that facility, to a pool for all the residents, for our young people, people of all ages in the community. We just, bottom line, need to get it done. Thank you. And this next question is similar. It's not identical, but the question is, are you prepared to work with MHA on the development of a community pool and center at Granite Dells Park? I don't know. Do you think that's a new question? New question. There we go. We'll keep it just in case we run out of questions, though. I don't think we will. I don't think we will with 30 questions, but here we go. All right. Oh, okay. Rumsey Park is in dire need of new restrooms to support all of its use. What can we do now to improve this situation and improve the town's presentation to users? So that is a good question. If there's anyone in here that wasn't aware of a challenge that we are facing, and that is vandalism. Vandalism of our public restrooms, of our park restrooms, especially Rumsey Park. It seems to be just a real target to people that want to tear out the toilets, break the sinks, put graffiti everywhere. And our police officers, again, as Tom alluded to, the situation with drugs in town and other things that are occurring. I know I see the emails or the messages or the posts with traffic, speeders, people at red lights that are blocking the roadway. There's just a lot of different issues that our law enforcement are already dealing with. So it's very unfortunate that we have people, whether they're in the community, they're newer to the community, have been in the community, visiting the community, but that they're damaging our restrooms. Not only is it an expense to continue to fix the restrooms, but it takes valuable time away from our parks department, our employees, because I think everyone has noticed all the different events, all the activities that we have going on in our parks. There's a lot happening, so our parks department, recreation department, is constantly busy through the summer putting on these events, attending to the events, getting fields ready, getting the parks ready, keeping all the maintenance done. So for them to have to then fix restrooms, it has become a big problem. We've talked about with Chief Ron Tischer, surveillance systems in the park. It's been mentioned extra patrols in the park. We're looking at facilities that are less susceptible to damage. They're not as pleasant to look at, maybe not as nice to use if they're made out of all metal, but they can't be damaged. So looking at different things. Also, it's been discussed with our town manager, the possibility of bringing in portable restrooms that you might see at concerts or other venues that have sinks, that have the toilets, and they're just maybe put in place over the summer for events when there's more people in the park. So there are different options out there that we are currently looking at. And again, it's very unfortunate, and hopefully maybe we can encourage residents, and I know there are some residents that are maybe going to the park or watching, but being more vigilant and reporting any activity that they might see to prevent this from happening. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me tell you a funny story about Rumsey Park. I was over there one day at an event at the Ramada, the main Ramada, and I was standing and I was blocking the view of a driver who went by, a young man, and he made some disparaging remarks to me, and he hit the gas and he squealed his wheels. What he didn't see, who I was blocking, was a police officer who nailed him before he got out of the park. And I went by and I said, "What did you say, young man?" "Oh, I'm sorry," is that right? From one cop to another, I really appreciate it. The problem, one of the main problems with the park is it's in a floodplain. And we have a drainage issue that has to be fixed, really, before we can do any of the major upgrades. That drainage issue that I've heard from the town manager is approximately $1 million. So if we do anything other than fix that drainage issue, it's just throwing bad money after good. So the main challenge here is to schedule the correction for that drainage issue, and after we get that fixed, then we can proceed with upgrading the park, getting the bathrooms fixed, and then we can take care of the vandalism. That's not a difficult fix, but you get people. There's people in all places that like to break things. And I understand that, and usually they're young men that like to do that. So we need to make it so that if they do get caught, they don't do it again. All right, so we can eliminate that aspect of it, and our police department knows how to do that. The main thing here is to understand the reality of what the challenges are. And what we can and we can't do. But there's a need to get that done. The park is controversial because we've had to raise the rates and the fees for using the park, and that is misunderstood. It's not something that we did by choice. We followed state statutes. And in doing so, it has caused, it's more expensive now to use the park, but we are following the code and which are based on state statutes. So hope that answers the question. Oh, I like this one. Okay, here we go. This is from Mike White. Mike White. I don't see mine. Where are you, Mike? There you are. Okay. Good to see you. So, would I support a tax increase for any reason? I do not support raising taxes. I would interpret raising taxes as a failure on my part to protect the interests of this town and the funding. I believe we've had, and we can see it across the country, people say that the government has a tax problem or a revenue problem. The problem is that the government doesn't know how to handle money. We have to live within our means. Now, our national debt now is over 31 trillion. And sooner or later, the piper's going to have to be paid. That's a scary number. And it should be a lesson for all of us. And especially those of us that have the responsibility of protecting the money of the town. So I'm going to say it to you again. I do not support raising taxes unless the people approve. So if it ever becomes, thank you. If it ever becomes necessary during my term to raise taxes, I will go out and meet with you all, and I will do the best I can to have an election. Your will should be expressed in an election. Now, there are cases to be made that sometimes taxes are necessary, and they're there for different purposes. We have public safety issues, and we just had a public safety equipment need that it wouldn't have required a tax increase, but it could have contributed to the possibility of one down the road. So what I did with that was I took Chief Ron Tisher, with me, and actually it was a phone conversation. We met with a man named Alberto Gutierrez. Alberto is he heads up, he's the director of the governor's highway safety program. Alberto's a former cop. So we talked for a while. Ron talked with him and charmed him. Now everything we need from the Department of Highway Safety, it's just a phone call from me to Alberto, or it's a phone call from our chief, Ron Tisher. And our chief, Ron Tisher, is very, very good. We are blessed to have that man. And our police department functions very well under him. But I'll go out for grants. I've been accused of name dropping. The names I drop are people I know from my past. And they are friends, they trust me, I trust them, and I do not hesitate to go and ask them for help, and we're getting it. Thank you.
I believe it was in my third year while on council, it came before us the decision to increase the sales tax here in Payson. We needed to have more revenue. We just got hit with the PSPRS, which is Public Safety Retirement System, debt of approximately $20 million. So at that time, I was on the council, and I was one of the members that voted for the 0.88% sales tax increase in Payson. If we had the ability, we don't have the ability currently because the council can't increase sales tax. It has to go to the voters. But if I was put in that situation again at that time with all of the challenges we faced, I would vote for that again. It was needed at that time, and it's given us the ability to be where we're at and have what we currently have. The other option that we had was to cut services. And that is, if you don't have the funds, you have to reduce your operating cost. So that's what we were looking at, services that would need to be cut, and also maintenance that would have to be continued to be deferred at that time, and we're still catching up on all the maintenance that has to be done in the different departments, in our parks, with public safety. And there was an opportunity 3 years ago, and it's still one that I think it should have went out to the voters, but we were presented by our public safety chiefs, our fire chief and our police chief, the dire situation that they were in with their vehicles, their facilities, and their needs. And there was a 0.12 sales tax that was sunsetting that we had the ability to put on a ballot to go out in 2020 to the voters to have you vote on that. If you wanted to have 0.12, that 0.12 get dedicated to our public safety and capital improvements for public safety. And I voted to have that be put on the ballot, but the majority of the council voted against that. So that opportunity wasn't given to the voters in Payson. I feel that it was a tax, but it was a tax that would have been very beneficial to our community and to the safety of our community. Thank you. All right, it's a question about a pool. And no, I'm joking. Wildfire and rapid changes in our weather continue to rage and cause loss of life and property. What actions need to be implemented now to prepare our community? That is a great question, and I'm very happy in the last 2 to 3 years, the progress that the town has made with our fuels manager, Kevin McCulley, has done an incredible job for the town of Payson and the people in the fire department and in the community that work with him. And so much has been done. Just hiring a fuels manager gave us the ability to go after grants, to get money into the town, to help us with firewising our community. But it is an ongoing project. It'll always be ongoing. And so there's more money that needs to be dedicated to the program and more that we can do. I know we've discussed putting together programs that help individuals that don't have the ability, either the physical means or the money to pay for firewising their property. It is not fair. I don't believe it's fair to have a ordinance or code that is making people firewise their property if they don't have the ability, if they don't have the funds and they're looking at a potential fine, that doesn't help them out. If they don't have the money to do it, they don't have the money to do it. So if we can get grants, if we can get funding, if there are organizations that we can work with in the community that can help us make our community more firewise and help those individuals, that's what we're looking at doing, and that's what we're looking at. Also, as the mayor alluded to, with Blue Ridge Reservoir and C.C. Cragen and the firewising that has been done up there, that's critical, because if anything were to happen to Blue Ridge Reservoir, that's our water supply. That is where we're getting our water that is recharging our wells and keeping us from having water problems in the future. So firewising is essential to our community, and I'm very happy and proud of the progress that we have made in the last few years and are going to continue to make in the community. Thank you.
As Chris referred to, the forests around the Blue Ridge Reservoir are critical. When that water system was built, it gave us not only the title, but the fact that we are the only entity in the Southwest that has an unlimited supply of water. That's fabulous. So when the C.C. Cragen system was built, it was built with just about the amount of money that they had to build it. So I came into office, I started asking questions. What are we doing with the forest around the reservoir? Are we being prepared for fires and all the things that go with it? And I didn't get the answers I was hoping I'd get. Because if we have a fire around that reservoir, that entire system's gone. And I believe it's irretrievable. So I set about, I put together a stakeholders group. I told you I like teams. Stakeholders group had U.S. Forest Service, SRP, Wild Turkey Federation. Anybody know anybody in the Wild Turkey Federation? There's some wild people, right? So the National Flycasters, people are just activists in general. A man named Joe Miller was very active. Bureau of Land Management. We had the perfect combination. We had Congressman Gosar and Senator Sinema. So she came to me and we talked about what the town needed most. I said, we have an existential threat. It's called the forest that surrounds our town. If we have a catastrophic fire, our water's not only in trouble, we're in trouble. Okay, so it is a life and death experience. So she got the money for us to thin the forest. That's what I'm showing. That's the first tree that was cut. So they're building fire breaks. They're taking out dead trees. They're removing the foliage from the forest floor. And they are making for a healthier forest. And they're creating fire breaks. Folks, there is nothing more important than what we're talking about right now. Because if we have a catastrophic fire, everything we're talking about that's important to us is done. So we've not only have we gotten the forest treated, but Jim Muir in the back of the room has headed up the effort to develop an evacuation route that we're working on too. So we're very aware of this threat and hope that you are, because it's going to continue. We need to get this done, and it's getting done. Thank you. Okay, this is from Mike White. Mike, you were busy. Okay. It says, do you support extending Mud Springs Road to the 260 in order to reduce the congestion on Granite Dells Road, and especially at the intersection near Safeway, and to provide an escape route to the east for the southeast quadrant of the town? Well, I support evacuation routes. That goes without saying. But I don't want to take something that's very bad and make it worse. Because I don't know if doing that extension will eliminate the congestion. I mean, that probably the busiest street in our town is Bentley. I mean, Bentley, and it's getting busier and busier and busier. I use Bentley quite a bit, and I noticed even today. Now, the summer is gone, and our summer visitors are supposedly gone, and it was like a parade on Bentley. I mean, I had to wait at the stoplight to get onto Bonita for about 10 cars to pass, and the cars were going back and forth on Bonita, and they're driving too fast. You know, that's why I wish I was back in law enforcement. I had the wild car and the ticket book. But unfortunately, I'm not. But the thing is, that is a very complicated thing. I have a good friend. My wife and I have a good friend that lives on Bentley, and she just can't stand the fact that the street is so busy, and she's disabled, so she has to ride. Like a motorized bicycle to the store, and there's no sidewalks on Bentley, and the people, and the street is not really wide enough for two cars. I mean, it's really a dangerous street. So that is a problem that has to be solved. I don't know if the answer is opening that route onto 260. It may be. It's something that we need to study. But we need to look at it long and hard and consider all of the issues. A martial arts teacher of 20 years, I got to give him a plug. He's no longer with us, but a man from China, very, very wise man. He told me, if you concentrate on one thing, that's all you see. If you concentrate on nothing, you see everything. And that's the way we need to approach this. We need to see everything and come up with ideas. But I'm glad, Mike, that you suggested that. I do go out, meet with groups. I have my chat with the mayor, and I converse with a lot of people. And when somebody brings me a problem, they also usually bring me a solution. So I'm listening to you. And my phone number's out there. You can get me any time of day. My wife will tell you that, because I do get phone calls at different times of the day. She's giving me the look. Thank you.
So my answer is yes. And I wish it was already done. I wish it would have been done 20 years ago when it should have been done, when they proposed to do it. There are too many, unfortunately, connector roads or roads in Payson that haven't been completed, where developments have gone in and the road was proposed or supposed to be done, which would provide an alternate route, either an escape route or an ingress and entrance into the community. And there are quite a few of these examples throughout Payson. And unfortunately, they create congestion. They create unsafe neighborhoods where there's not enough exits out of a neighborhood in case of an emergency. And in the case of Granite Dells and Manzanita coming out of Safeway, I know what's been discussed for a while is there are so many accidents there from people turning left, where that should only be a case where you can go straight across to Manzanita or turn right. So opening up the Mud Springs Road and having access onto 260 would allow that to be possible, would help alleviate traffic on Granite Dells. But in conjunction with doing that, there has to be some measures taken on Phoenix Street to calm traffic, to slow traffic down, because when that is opened up, you know, everybody on their phones, because when they're coming up or coming from where up in the White Mountains, they're heading south or west on 260 coming into Payson, and traffic is backed up, they're pulling up on their phones an alternate route. So if that was open, it would take them down to Mud Springs Road and down Phoenix Street, so it will increase the traffic on that street. And the way it sits right now, it is so wide and so conducive to people speeding that we would need to address that. We would need to narrow the street, speed bumps, something to slow the traffic down, not keep the larger vehicles because there's residents back there and more residents are moving back there that might have fifth wheels, trailers, motorhomes. So they have to be able to travel on that road. So to say, well, we will limit it so they can't bring those large vehicles. Well, if you're a homeowner back there and you have one of those vehicles, you want to be able to get it back there. That's really not a practical option. But there are measures that should be taken, and the town should be proactive instead of reactive. Instead of waiting for that problem to happen because you know it's going to happen, let's be proactive in that situation. Thank you. Don't know why I put the mic down. Improving our community's walkability is important for our children and residents. What will you support to improve walkability in Payson? Ooh, wow. When we talk about walkability, I know what comes to mind is McLean, north of Airport Road. It's not very walkable. It's maybe even a little tougher to drive if you have a larger vehicle and there's another large vehicle coming in the opposite direction. What I feel needs to be done is just like Bonita Street, and unfortunately, the sidewalks couldn't be put in on Bonita Street. But when streets are done or redone, we need to address the sidewalk issue for walkability and also drainage, because drainage is another really big problem in town. But in addressing walkability and drainage, what it does is it increases the cost. It drives the cost up. So now, instead of just repairing the road, replacing the road, redoing it, you have to put in the sidewalks, the drainage. You might have to get easement from homeowners. There's a lot more that's involved, which drives the cost up. But it's necessary. We have to start doing it. I feel that we're seeing more people come into Payson that are more active, that are out on the streets more, walking their dogs, riding their bicycles. We're seeing more children in the community, sort of in waves. For example, the freshman class at the high school, our graduating class here in Payson averages about 140 students, maybe 150 students. Our freshman class right now in the high school is over 250 students. Which is great. Hey, all right. Our soccer program, our Payson soccer program, recreational program, probably averaged 250 kids or so. Maybe 300, I think, was the highest. This year, there's over 450 in our youth soccer program. So, like that question said, there's going to be more children, and I feel more residents on the street, and we really have to focus and look at not just doing the minimum, not just repairing the streets, not just disregarding or leaving out the sidewalks and the drainage, but it will cost more and it'll require more money to go towards our streets, but it's definitely necessary. Thank you.
Well, it's going to cost a lot of money to do this thing right. Lots of money. Money we don't have, and we won't have in the future. But guess who has the money? The federal government. Now, the bill that was recently passed, the infrastructure bill, provides money for rural, in our case, rural Arizona. We have not only a street problem or sidewalk problem, we have a storm water drainage problem. And we have to be really on top of how we change the structures in the streets. Number one, our streets. Why are our streets always so torn up? Because they're pancaked. They're paved. They're paved right. The paving goes right on the dirt. There's no support underneath. So that's why the roads are in such disrepair. So in order to do this right, we're going to have to go back and reconstruct the roads. And if we're going to do it, let's do it right. Now, what will come in place with that, as Chris was mentioning, we will be working on with federal money. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to get it before I'm done here in 3 minutes. We're going to be working on the sidewalks in concert with the street pavement, in concert with the storm water management. We have parts of our town that are underwater every time we have a major rainfall. Their houses are just deluged with water. And they want to fix. So if we fix it, well, we can move the water away from their property. It's going to go down to somebody else's property. So it's not an easy fix, but it's a very necessary fix. So it's one of the things I'm working on with Senator Sinema. Now, she gets a big kick out of the fact that we work so well together. Those of you who don't know, I was chairman of the Arizona Republican Party. And when Senator Sinema was in the state legislature. But Senator Sinema is doing what I'm trying to do. Work for the people, put party aside. It's about you. It's about the people. And the only way we're going to get this done is through a partnership. So there is money. I'm working with her staff on tapping into it. It's a major, big issue. We have to come up with a dollar amount that we need, and we're working on that. But we will get started, and we will address this one piece at a time, but we'll get it done. And a lot of the money will come from the federal government. Some of it will come from the town. But our roads are going to be in better shape, and we're going to have safe sidewalks, especially for our children, which is very, very necessary. Thank you. This is from Dan Sheen. Dan Sheen was my best friend growing up. You here, Danny? I don't think he's here. He lives in Florida, by the way. What are your plans to improve our town streets? We just talked about that. How long are we expected to dodge potholes? I think we just addressed it with that. Let me pull another one. Okay. This is Don Hocker. And Don says, here's a question. It appears likely the town cannot support both a pool and splash pad. Assume this is the case, which would you support, a pool or a splash pad? Don Hocker. That's simple. Splash pad does not compromise the pool. So I do not believe that it requires an either or. Splash pad will cost anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000. We have in effect a grant for that to pay for half of it. I see the splash pad is nothing more than a wet playground, and it's a free activity for children. We are one of the few towns in the state, cities and towns, that don't have a splash pad. And it's a wet playground. And we're trying to attract younger families to this town. Well, we have to have something for the younger families to do. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't support a pool. Of course I support a pool. I support both, and we can do both. As I say, we've had some foot dragging on the splash pad, but what it'll be is, again, water coming up from the ground or coming down from buckets, and a lot of fun for kids, and for the parents, and for the grandparents. I mean, this is an activity that's well deserved. I don't understand why we haven't gotten it done. I've been working on it since I've been in office, and I'm looking at Debbie Labonte back there. She was part of that thing. Lori's gone. My wife was part of it. And they brought it to me. And guys, you know what I'm saying. I never say no to my wife. All right, you guys know that. Okay, so the pool, we have to get the pool done too. As far as a partnership on the pool, I think maybe we can include in the partnership the school, because the schools use the pool for training and the water activities. But we'll find a way to get that done. There will be, and we probably will be able to get some grants. But it's not an either or. I mean, there's no reason why we can't have a splash pad and we can't have our pool up and running. And if I have any say in it, we're going to have both. And we can do it. It's up to us as a town to get it done. And as I say, we are one of the few towns in the state that doesn't have a splash pad. Ask yourself why. Okay, Chris?
Like really everything else that we've been discussing tonight, it comes down to priorities. For me, personally, a pool as a higher priority than a splash pad. It isn't about an either or, but when you're limited with resources, it's about prioritizing. So I've always felt that a pool has a higher priority. But in saying that, when it was brought to the town, the idea of a splash pad, a lot of information was provided of what it was being done in other communities because, as the mayor mentioned, we are one of the communities, only communities, I don't know if there are any others, if there are a few that don't have a splash pad. We're also a community that doesn't have a pool. And that is an issue. So when it was initially brought to the council, I remember examples in other communities where the splash pad, and now this was years ago, so things have changed. But at that time, the cost was anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. And we looked at that and said, okay, that's very reasonable. But then as it went on, just the cost went up because of different features or things that were associated or got associated with the project. Looking at it also in other communities, I think I remember finding one community where it was completely funded by the municipality, but in all the other examples, there was funding from other sources, whether it was Rotary, Kiwanis, or different groups that helped contribute to that splash pad project, or even the community fundraisers being done. But there was a buy-in from different organizations in the community to get that done, which unfortunately didn't happen here. So I go back to, again, as far as priorities, I have felt since I've been on council that a pool has a higher priority, and that's something that does need to get done. The town, we need to get it figured out, and as a council, we need to come together, work together, and whether that, again, is completely funded by the town or it's a private-public partnership working with other organizations or another organization, we need to get a pool. Thank you. All right. This question, from Dave Golumbewski, will you support a town bylaw that directs any new sales tax to be voted on by the people, and will you let the voters decide whether to keep the grocery tax or not? So the first part of that question, a town bylaw that directs any new sales tax to be voted on by the people, I believe that already is in place to where any new sales tax, it has to be voted on by the people. The council doesn't have the ability to implement a sales tax without it going to the vote of the people. And will you let the voters decide whether to keep the grocery tax or not? I believe the grocery tax is a big source of revenue for the town, and there is a portion of that, and we don't know exactly how much that is. The percentages that we've been given by different town staff range 40 to 60%. It probably depends on the time of the year, because in the summertime, we have so many visitors to the area. Well, those visitors are in our stores, they're in our restaurants, they're in our gas stations. They're making all of these purchases up here, and they are paying that grocery tax. They are paying our sales tax. They are paying that along with us during that time, but that is... So I think that the sales tax on groceries is a benefit to the town, and I'm explaining why. So when you have people that are visiting and coming from other areas, when you are a destination, a tourist town, or people are coming here and spending their money, then that is revenue that's coming into the town that it isn't put totally on the backs of our residents, to where if we were to look at other sources of revenue to take the place of that grocery tax, we could look at property tax. We could look at taxes that only would apply to residents, but not to tourists. So I feel that putting that burden of rental tax, we I know talked about all these different types of taxes or different funding sources that could be looked at, and ultimately it came down to the residents of Payson paying the majority of that. In a case of a rental tax, or property tax, when it increases, then that's just passed on to renters. So then rents are increased, and they end up paying that. So the answer is no. Yes, yeah, that is correct. That I believe keeping the grocery tax is a benefit to the town of Payson. Well, yeah, no, because I agree, and I feel that keeping the grocery tax is a benefit to Payson.
Thanks. My position on the food tax, like on any tax, I hate taxes. You know, I love the Beatles song, "The Tax Man." I'm the tax man. I saw the Popeye movie. There was a tax collector. There was a tax on everything. You blink, it's a tax. Okay, but here's the facts, Dave. I see the value, and I understand the value of the food tax or the sales tax increase. It's necessary. The good thing about it is that it pays a lot of the expenses that are paid to run the town that is not put on the townsfolks, because a lot of those expenses, and I've heard as high as 50%, is paid by non-Payson residents, and not only visitors, but we're a shopping hub. People come from Pine, Strawberry, Oxbow, Round Valley, and they shop in town. And along with the seasonal visitors that we have, they do pay for a good part of it. If we didn't have that tax, then the burden for the expense of the town would fall on the people of the town in the form of property taxes. So we're going to pay for it one way or another. We have to have services. Now, or we cut back. So people say to me, well, we're going to cut back, we want to cut back a tax. And they tell me, what service do you want cut back? Now, then that's a problem. My feeling about that tax is that it was not handled properly when it was brought in. It was an emergency situation. I understand that because of the retirement system and what's going on with the retirement system. It created a crisis, and it was handled. But it should, in my estimation, have gone sometime after that to the people. It should have been your decision. And if it's not messaged properly, then that's a problem. If it ever becomes necessary for a tax raise, and I'm involved in it, and I told you I hate taxes, I will come to you and I will explain to you why the taxes have to be raised. Now, there's a lot of resonance, and we went through the recession, which is probably a depression, and it did a lot of damage to the economy of the town. And we were trying to recover from that. But the basic rule is that taxation without representation is tyranny. There's no other way to put it. So I think that there are better ways, and I wasn't on the council at the time that it was, so I can't take issue with that. But I would tell you that if it were up to me, it would have gone to the people first with an explanation why.
Okay, we want to honor your time, and so we're going to give each of them a chance to give their closing 5-minute closing statements, and then we'll get you out of here by 7:30, as we agreed that we would do. So, haven't they done a great job? They're just absolutely awesome, both of them. And we really appreciate the way they have been very, very respectful of one another as well. So we really appreciate that. So, all right. So I even think they might be friends. So that's great. All right.
I'll let the vice mayor call.
Okay. All right. So this heads, that's tails, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why are they both the same?
Huh? Why do they look the same?
Yeah, they do. Think of that.
One's black and the other's gold.
Heads.
Heads?
got a few things I want to say to you before we depart. Again, I thank you for coming. It really is very encouraging to see as many people show up for this. I wanted to tell you a few more things about where I'm coming from as your mayor. I'm proactive. I'm not reactive. I believe the best way to solve a problem when you see it coming is to get out in front of it and organize an answer for it or a response to it. Very, very important. I've done that with several issues. I did it in the pandemics. I did it with the major snowstorms that we had. I got some help out of the governor's office by making an early call, and we got the help we needed. The thing with the forest, I got out as fast as I could in front of that, getting the forest. Then we had the school security issue. And I worked on creating a perimeter of safety for the children around the schools and around PCK. And I have no authority over the Payson Unified School District, none. But I have the responsibility for the lives of the children and the teachers there. And I damn well aim to meet that responsibility as best I can. That is a critical issue. Trusted friendships produce needed resources. I have friends in high places. I got friends in low places too. I'm looking at one of them right back there. But I have developed friendships when I was chairman of the state party, that people that are now in office. I can call the governor when I need help, and I have. I can call Congressman Gosar and get help. I can call Senator Sinema. We need a dialysis center here. We lost our dialysis center. So last Saturday, I met with Congressman O'Halloran about the dialysis center. I'm trying to get out in front of it. Okay, it's closed already, so I'm behind it. But we need to get that up and running. We got 36 people who were using it when it was open. It's usually a 3-hour treatment. They had one table, one nurse, and 36 patients. And the excuse was he didn't have enough business. So that doesn't make sense to me. I researched it, and I know that's a fact. So what we have, is circumstances that require leadership. And I am a leader. I've led just about every organization I've belonged to. I started out in the Marshal Service as a POD, plain old deputy, and I rose through the ranks to the highest civil service position in the federal government, a GS-15. I was the chief deputy of one of the largest districts in the country. I did that because I'm proactive. I look for ways to get things done. And I believe we are looking at something coming our way. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but you know what's coming across that border. And when I look at the videos of the people coming across that border, and God bless the people who want to come here for a better life. I don't mean that we should stop that, but it needs to be organized. And when I look at the people coming across that border, and most of them are military-aged men, it sends a chill up my spine. We don't know who's in this country. We do know there's fentanyl in this country. It's pouring in. So sooner or later, and it's already starting to happen, we're going to face a crisis. And I ask you, who do you want in the mayor's seat? You want a former chief deputy U.S. Marshal that worked drugs? Okay. It's a question. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I respect Chris, and I'm sure that he would do a great job. I just feel I do a better job because I know what to do and I know how to do it, and I damn well will do it. Politics is networking, and that's what I've done. So I'm going to say I work for you. And I'm asking for your vote. I'm reading what I wrote. And I'm asking for your vote so I can continue to work for you. You are the boss. You are the boss. You tell me what you want, and I will do everything I can to meet that request. Thank you.
All right. Want to thank everyone for, again, coming tonight. Thank you, Pastor Richie. I think this is a good opportunity, or it's a little bit easier for voters this time around because both Tom and I are on council. We've been on council now for 4 years. So I feel when you're looking at candidates, the most important thing to do is look at how they vote. It's pretty simple. I mean, if you want to know kind of what we're behind, what we're going to do, you look at how we vote. And that's where I feel there's 3 examples in the last 4 years that I've been on council where I voted, and I feel that it has made a difference or would have made a difference in the community. The first I brought up earlier, and that was with the 0.12 sales tax that was used to build the fire station. It's Fire Station 13 across from Tyler Parkway. When that sunset, we had an opportunity for, again, that to go before the voters to let you decide if that should be put towards public safety. We got presentations from our police and fire chiefs saying they could use that money. Well, that amount at that time was $400,000 to $450,000. Today, $700,000 to $750,000. That's a lot of money that could be going to our public safety to keep our community safer. I voted for that. Another thing that came before us on council was something that didn't come up in any of the questions. I was a little surprised, is workforce housing or more housing in Payson. Housing that people can afford that are working here in Payson and supporting people in Payson, providing the amenities and the services for those of us that live here. So a project came before us on Tyler Parkway that was park models, 100 park models, and then also a little RV campground, not long-term, but short-term for RVs. Again, I voted for that. Thankfully, that did pass. It did pass. I talked with Ray Pugel. He's no longer involved in that project, but he said the person is moving forward with that, and hopefully we'll start seeing something soon because we need homes. We need houses, and we need houses where our workforce can reside and that are more affordable, even if it is smaller. The third example, and it really isn't that maybe significant, or it doesn't involve a lot of money, but there was on Main Street, we got new light poles, the new light poles on Main Street. And we just needed 3 more to finish that project. Again, this came before council because it kind of went over the budget a little bit. We had to spend an extra $22,000. And there was some resistance to that. And thankfully, again, it did pass. And I voted for that, but I just looked at that as an example of there's a lot of projects or a lot of things that get started in Payson that don't get finished, that we don't see through all the way. And I feel that's important. And as a council member, the time I've been on council, I felt that I've been able to look at those projects or look at those things, identify those things, and even though there might be some objection, because the bottom line is we're not always going to feel the same and have the same opinion on what needs to be done in the town or what has a higher priority. We're going to disagree on some of those things, and it's good. And people come to council meetings and they say, hey, we don't think this should happen. We don't think you should vote for this. We don't think this would be good for the town. And we need to hear that, and we do hear it. But then we also need to work together and work with staff and look at what's best for the entire community. And I think that is very important in moving the town forward, in seeing a lot of these things that we've talked about tonight and we've talked about for many years, seeing them come to fruition is sticking to a plan. there's a plan for the community, and it's important that we stay the course and work together and compromise, look at different solutions, look at different ways of doing things, but instead of just talking about things, taking action, not just studying or talking about them, but following through with action, making decisions. And that's the role of the council, is to make decisions on your behalf while representing the residents of Payson. So thank you.
Tom, Chris, we all kind of feel like you're our friends, and we like that. We like that. We like that personal touch. Well, I want to thank every one of you for coming. You're awesome, and may God bless each and every one of you. Thank you. Good night.